the Average Meat Channel. My name's Mark, and oh, wait a minute. We might have to try this again. Whew. Now that I have the microphone on, take two. Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday, and welcome to the Average Meat Channel. That only took 18 seconds, so I hope that those of you who weren't hearing me very well didn't run off and leave. It is Mother's Day. I hope that you all have had a wonderful Mother's Day. Those of you who are watching who are mothers, happy Mother's Day. Those of you who are watching who had mothers at one time or another, happy Mother's Day. My mother, unfortunately, is no longer with us, but I did go to see my mother-in-law today, and that was nice to be able to have that visit. So I hope that you all had a good one, and if it wasn't, you know, a significant Mother's Day for you, at least, yeah, I hope that you had a happy Sunday. So I have returned from my travels. If you've been watching the channel for the past week, you know that I've been all over the place, and I haven't quite said. I keep trying to move this so I'm not getting that glare on uh, on this poster right here. You see if I move, you see that? You're seeing all the glare from my light. So anyway, I'm back from my trip, and I still haven't said exactly where I was or where I'm heading, but we'll cover that a little bit in today's show. So it's great to have you all here. I just want to make sure, as always, that we're live. And today's program has kind of a funny name, um, Homophones, Catachresis, and Malaprops. And that goes back to something that I was looking at or I heard throughout the week. And so I started looking it up because I heard someone and they were singing a song and they were singing completely wrong lyrics to the song. And I wanted to know if there's a word for that, a word for saying the wrong words, mishearing something. And it reminded me of the old song Maresy Dotes, Dozy Dotes, and Little Lambsy Ivy. And I don't know if you are familiar with that, if you ever heard of Maresy Dotes. It goes Maresy Dotes and Dozy Dotes and Little Lambsy Ivy, a kiddly Ivy too, wouldn't you? And it sounds like nonsense words, but throughout the song, it's an old song. It goes back to the 40s. But it pays homage to mishearing lyrics. And so this is nothing new. In Maresy Dotes, and Dozy Dotes, and Little Lambsy Ivy, uh, what they're saying is mares eat oats, and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. Mares eat oats, and does eat oats, and little lambs eat ivy. A kid will eat ivy too. Now you probably got it figured out, right? A kid will eat ivy too, wouldn't you? So it got me to thinking about, is there a term for this? And it took me down the path back when you're in school and you hear, all these names for things. And so I started with homophones and I thought, is that a homophone? And it really isn't. Um, it's a homophone, not a homophobe. Okay, that's something completely different. Homophone are words that sound exactly alike, but they mean two different things. Like, I don't know, two for the number or two for also, or two, I'm going to the store. They all sound alike, but they mean different things. And so I thought, well, that's not quite it. That's not what I was looking at. Then I started thinking of malaprop, but a malaprop is completely different. A malaprop is what I have in the title. I was prostate in pain, or anguish, or, and obviously a prostate is, it's prostrate, right? And the reason I remember that one, it was in The Sopranos, and Tony was describing how, affected he was by, I don't know, by someone's death or injury or something. He said he was prostate with grief. So, so I was thinking about that one, but that wasn't quite it either. And then I remembered Paul McCartney saying in an interview how Ringo would always missay things and misphrase things, but they weren't quite malaprops because he was talking about And it wasn't quite mishearing words either. He was talking about Ringo would come in and say, "Oh, you look tired, Ringo." And he said, "Yeah, I had a hard day's night." And they thought, "Oh, that's brilliant. Let's use that for a song title." But that doesn't quite do it either. So anyhow, I started down this path and I came up with some funny ones at misheard lyrics when I always think of it. And does anyone here hear that? If those of you are watching live, if you want to chat put something in the chat, a misheard lyric that you always think is funny. The one I always think about is Purple Haze. And in Purple Haze, when he sings, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," and people mishear that, "Excuse me while I kiss this guy." And what he's saying is, "Excuse me while I kiss the sky," right? So that's always misheard or misunderstood. So anyway, what I did is I started searching things like that, and we'll start with lyrics here because I think some of them are really, really funny. So Purple Haze is the one that I always think of because that goes back way back when I was a kid, and I would remember, people mishearing that. So apparently, what I've come across here, and you tell me if you ever heard this, Eurythmics and their Sweet Dreams. Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Now, I've never heard that. Sweet dreams are made of cheese. Of course, they say sweet dreams are made of these. Or is it this? These. It's made of these, right? I don't know. I got one here, Africa. It rains down in Africa, that they say there's nothing that 100 men on Mars could ever do. I think it's 100 men or more could ever do, isn't it? I want to hold your hand. I never heard this, that anyone misunderstood that as "I want to hold your ham." I, I've never heard that. Bohemian Rhapsody. Uh, Spare him his life from this monstrosity. It says here, saving his life from this warm sausage tea. Really? Do people hear that in there? Creedence Clear. I've heard this one before. CCR, Bad Moon Rising. There's a bad moon on the rise. That people mishear that as "there's a bathroom on the right." I've never understood it, but I've heard that before. Um, I've heard this one too for the Beatles, um, "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." A girl with kaleidoscope eyes, that people hear, "A girl with colitis goes by." I don't think even John Lennon, as strange as he was sometimes, would have written "A girl with colitis goes by." Then Starship, "We built the city on rock and roll." I don't believe this one either, that people mishear this because it's the title of the song, right? "We built this city on sausage rolls." Really? We built the city on sausage rolls? I don't know. Bob Dylan, "Blowing in the Wind." "The ants are my friends. They're blowing in the wind." The ants are my friends. They're blowing in the wind. And here someone wrote the Monkey song, "I'm a Believer." And this one is kind of weird too, because that's the name of the song, right? Look who's coming in. Callie is joining us. Um, "When I saw her face, now I'm a believer." And some people here, "Now I'm going to leave her." I'm going to leave her. So I don't know about that. I always heard in "I'm a Believer," what is that lyric that I know I've heard people mishear? Um, "I thought love was more or less a give and take." And I've heard people think, "I thought love was more or less a given thing." But I thought that was kind of funny when people mishear lyrics. Have you ever misheard a lyric and were surprised when you found out what the real lyric was? Or maybe you've heard other people sing different words and you thought, "Wait a minute, that's not the right word." Have you ever heard someone sing a different word and then you questioned what you've been hearing your whole life, even though you might have been hearing the right thing? And you thought, "Really? Is that what it is?" Leave a comment down below, or if you're here live, let us know. There, Callie got bored now and she's leaving us. So then I started looking up malaprops, and those are kind of funny. So I found a collection of these online. Someone ordered decapitated coffee. The girl said her boyfriend took her for granted. I hear that one a lot, though. Instead of saying granted, people say granite, right? I heard took her for granted. Um, as far as illnesses or diseases, Alzheimer's disease, chicken pops. I've never heard this one, smiling mighty Jesus for spinal meningitis. And 65 roses. How's that one? 65 roses. Guess what that one is? Cystic fibrosis. And here it is, 65 roses. All right, what else have we got here? A longtime Navy man was once reported to have died from sea roaches of the liver. Sea roaches of the liver. One woman said she was going through mental pause. Here's a really funny one. A woman told a counselor she couldn't have a sexually transmitted disease because both her and her husband were monotonous. Well, maybe that's why she got the disease, because she was monotonous. Her husband started looking elsewhere. Someone said of a beautiful sunset, it has all the colors of the rectum. If you were selecting items for publication, include a short antidote concerning it. Of course, that's an anecdote, right? A short antidote. What do we have here? Buster rhymes are not too understandable. Well, yeah, but what are they? What are the funny ones? I've never understood this. People type could have when they're trying to say could have. Yeah, could have. They say could have instead of could have. I don't know if that's actually malaprop or it's just, yeah, they're just using improper words, right? What else do we have? In Venice, people travel around in gorgonzolas. Of course, gorgonzola is a cheese, right? A woman took up aerobics to help maintain my well proposition figure. Well, she might get a lot of propositions because of her figure, but the only surefire way to avoid pregnancy is through abstinence. That might help. That really might help. Senators are chosen as committee chairman on the basis of senility. And that might be the truth as well, right? I think we've chosen presidents on that basis of senility. Of course, they mean seniority, I suspect. Fun and excitement of childhood is nothing compared to the fun and excitement of adultery. I don't think that's even a mistake. Who can argue with that one? What would you say, though, instead of adulthood? Would that be it? Childhood and adulthood? The marriage was consummated at the altar. Oh, my goodness, that would be an exciting wedding, wouldn't it? He died interstate. What do you think that means? In probate? I'll bet I don't know. What do you think that means? The food in the cafeteria is so bad, it's not fit for human constipation. It might cause human constipation, human consumption, I suppose. What do you think you are? Some kind of a hexagon of virtue? We have to deal seriously with this offense as a detergent to others. I remember hearing Archie Bunker say that capital punishment is detergent to crime. Of course, I mean a deterrent. It's unparalleled in the state's history. We're talking about unparalleled. Now, this one is said to have been said by Dan Quayle, this next one. Republicans understand the importance of bondage between a mother and a child. Let's say, importance of bonding. I'm surprised, frankly, at the amount of distrust that exists in this town. This was President Bush 1. I'm sorry, in this case, and I'll try hard to elevate it. You don't want to elevate distrust, do you? Alleviate, I think. States are laboratories for innovation. Laboratories. He was a man of great stature. It's supposed to be stature, I suppose that would be. And the police are not here to create disorder. They're here to preserve disorder. That was attributed to Mayor Daley, Chicago Richard Daley, and it's to preserve order. So that's just kind of funny. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny. That's what my mind went there this weekend, and I thought, oh, that'll be kind of funny to share that in the live stream. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this week. Oh my God, what a week it has been for me. What did I do? I just had to get away. I had to clear my head. I hadn't taken a real road trip in a long time. I mean, I since before my wife passed. So I just wanted to get away. So that's why, if you've been watching my videos, I've been in some different cities. I took a drive up the East Coast, and I visited a few cities, and there's still a lot more coming. So I don't want to spoil it too much. Um, but obviously I'm back now. So I have two more videos. I don't know what that says about me, right? Two more videos to edit. And so I was staying a couple of times at some Hojos, Howard Johnson's. I haven't been to a Howard Johnson's, I mean, in ages and ages and ages. But you probably noticed my eye is red again today. Every now and then, and I've been told that attribute that to stress. I don't know. I don't know, but I hope it's not distracting. It's going to be distracting now that I mention it, right? See that? So anyway, I stayed at some Howard Johnson's, and they were, I don't know if all of them, the entire chain, or just the majority, were purchased by Wyndham. And I was not happy with them. If you watch those, I try to put the most positive spin on it that I can. However, when you're doing something like a room tour and a room review or hotel review, you got to be honest, right? You can only, be so positive and be so much of the glass half full before you have to point out some of the obvious things. And I was in that one room, and that chair was stained and torn, and the furniture was chipped up, and there was, a dirty towel hanging behind the door in the bathroom. And it was just kind of gross. The sheets were stained. I think they were clean. I mean, I think they were laundered, but they were stained. You got to watch the videos to actually understand what I'm talking about. And then I went to the breakfast, and someone left a comment. I'm not going to name names because, quite frankly, I don't remember who it was. But you get what you pay for. I understand that. I really do. But I think there is also kind of a standard across the board of what is expected when you say a free breakfast. And I think you should specify it's going to be cold. I think you should specify continental breakfast. Because in my mind, when I hear continental breakfast, now I'm thinking of pastries and coffee, cereal, right? Something like that. Free breakfast, at the very least, I think they should have some kind of an egg dish, scrambled eggs, poached eggs, some kind of a breakfast dish, some kind of a breakfast meat, bacon, sausage links, sausage patties, something like that. I think you got to have a bread selection, breads and bagels, something like that. Yes, and have cold cereal and that sort of thing. Well, I don't think you need eggs Benedict necessarily, which was just suggested, but I don't think eggs Benedict necessarily in a free breakfast. But um, you know, and so when I got down there, and it was like cold cereal and bread. They had bagel and some bread slices. And they didn't have fresh fruit there. So I think fresh fruit is nice. And it doesn't even have to be just, recommended rideshare source fruit salad. I don't care for fruit salad, but have, maybe a bowl of fresh fruit of some apples, oranges, and bananas, something like that. I think that's appreciated. So they didn't even have that. They didn't even have, a few apples to grab. So they didn't have muffins, or, I was just so disappointed. And I thought, Hojo's is in decline. And all I can think of is Wyndham bought them and they're just going to milk them for whatever they're worth. And they're probably letting the local franchisees or however they work the omelet. Yes, absolutely. Omelets are something they have. And I know, like when you go to, I'm sorry, I'll complete my thought. But when you go to something like Hampton, the omelets are not fancy omelets. They're in a big, um, the big pan, that sits in the hot water to keep them warm. But they're omelets. They're the cheese omelet, little cheese omelets. They're about this big, and you can grab two of them if you want, but they're fine. They're probably made with an egg product, egg beater or something. I'm sure they put them into a mold and slap a piece of American cheese in there and fold them over and then fill up the bucket with them. But nevertheless, there's choices. Usually waffles. The waffle machine is usually there. You can pour in the batter. You got the batter machine that you pour it into a cup, and then you pour that onto the waffle maker. And those are nice free breakfasts. But this one was so pathetic, so pitiful. And I asked the guy to show me a couple more rooms. You got to watch this video. I mean, my description doesn't isn't enough. So I had him show me rooms, and everyone was just as bad for one reason or another. And I had a friend of mine said, Mark, you shouldn't have said that, because I talked about one of the beds actually it looked like the back of a swayback mule or something. It was indented just where people would sleep. And I don't know. I commented it looked like two heavy set people had been sleeping there. I wasn't so gentle with my verbiage, and someone said, Mark, heavy people are going to take offense to that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, wait a minute. I'm in the process. I'm officially, by the way, I've officially reached 40 pounds. I've got more to go. So, I was no Slim Jim myself. I didn't take offense when someone made a comment about a fat person. What are you going to do? But I said what I said, and it did look like that. It looked like two heavy people had been laying there, just woke up, and the bed was like that, had two big indents. So anyway, um, it was terrible. But so I drove up the coast, and the first city I stopped in was St. Augustine in northern Florida. And it started, as soon as I parked my car, it started raining cats and dogs. I thought I can sit here and it might pass in an hour, or it might rain the rest of the afternoon. So I left. And it's really too bad. I wanted to get some videos in St. Augustine. It's a beautiful city. I was there on that same trip I told you about, last road trip I took with my wife, and we went to the Fountain of Youth there, and that was fun. It was really neat. So I wanted to go back and do video, and it was raining so hard. I just couldn't do a video. By the way, if you're in the room here, give me a thumbs up. So so I moved on, and next I drove on and I went to Savannah, and that's where I spent the night. And I'd also been to Savannah with my wife, so this was a bittersweet trip. I hadn't intended to replicate and stop at all the places that we did, but these first two stops I happened to. And Savannah is a neat city, and I was only there for the overnight, so only spent a few hours. I went down, but if you've ever been there, it's beautiful. If you haven't watched my video, and you might want to stop at some point. But um, that was fun. I went down to the riverfront and just in town a little bit, walked around a little bit, and I had a good time. And the next day, I moved up the coast and I went got in South Carolina, did a short little video at the Welcome Center there, and then I went, I did the Welcome Center at Georgia. Did I do it in Georgia? Virginia. I did it, Virginia. And then I went to Charleston, and I haven't been to Charleston in years, at least 6, 7, 8 years since I've been there. So that was fun revisiting. And when you go to a place and it's kind of hazy, kind of foggy, but everything comes right back. Once you set foot in it, and you start, oh yeah, I remember that, and I remember that, and I remember seeing that statue and this and that. So that was fun. And then I went up the road and I spent the night in Virginia. And then I head all the way up, and This is a one that I haven't told anyone about yet, but I went up to, what is this? How come in my chat I'm getting an advertisement here? I went all the way up to Canada. Yeah, you heard right. Now, I haven't been to Canada since they turned me away. During COVID, they turned me away. I have a piece of paper. I got a document stating the whole thing, and it said, when will I re-enter? And it didn't give me a date that I could re-enter. So quite frankly, I wasn't sure if they were going to let me in. And when I got there, the guy asked me, have you been to Canada before? I said, yes. He said, do you ever have any issues crossing the border? I said, yes. And he said, what were they? I said, well, it was during COVID. I said, I was in Toronto and they turned me away. I said, I had a valid work permit, but I don't know if it was I wasn't going to stay there for the quarantine period or what it was, but they turned me away. I didn't tell them. They gave me a document and they mugshotted me and everything else. I, kept it to a minimum. It's always my philosophy when you're crossing the border and they ask you questions, don't give any more answers than they ask for. And then keep it brief to a sentence or two. And if they want you to expand on it, they will ask you to. So that's what I did. So when he asked me what I had to tell him was during COVID, because if I said, well, I was in Toronto and they turned me away, that would have raised too much suspicion. So I just said it was during COVID. I had a valid work permit, but I wasn't staying for the entire, they wanted me to stay for 2 weeks. And I wasn't prepared to do that. So they turned me away. Then he closed the window and he got on the phone and he talked on the phone for a while. But he opened the window, gave me back my passport, and sent me on my way. And I was reminded of that scene from the original Star Wars. Hey, Maxie. You guys see Maxie just came in? The original Star Wars, when these aren't the droids you're looking for. Move along. It's kind of what it reminded me of. But anyways, I got into Canada and I went to Ottawa, and I hadn't been in Ottawa in ages either. I know I was in Ottawa at least twice before. I was once there in the summer and once there in the winter. I remember that winter was so bitter cold, but Parliament was just beautiful. It was all lit up, that spotlights on it and everything, and it changed color and they were playing music, and it was really neat. And I remember down that Spark Street Mall, the shopping mall, it was all decked out for Christmas, and they had, Santa Claus displays and lights. And I remember it was so pretty. So I went back, and I did another video there. I haven't posted it yet, but I'll be doing that very shortly. I still have to edit that. So there's still some stuff that's going to come a little out of order because I'm here now, but I still have a couple of videos to drop, and I hope you'll watch them, even though you know what they're going to contain now. Went and saw Parliament, um, Office of the Prime Minister. Went and saw that. There were a lot of black cars, limousine type black cars outside there with drivers. And I was wondering if someone important, maybe the Prime Minister, they got a new one now, right, was going to come out. I didn't want to stick around away. I didn't care. Um, so I saw that. And then the city of Ottawa had had a tulip festival going on. So I went and I did that was so pretty. That was so pretty. So if you have a chance to, just beautiful, just so many, they weren't just limited to tulips, but primarily. And apparently there's history there and there's a reason for it. And I don't want to spill too many beans. So if you want to know why they have the tulip festival, you can watch a video. It'll be breaking in a few days. So that's what I've been doing anyway. And it's been a lot of fun. It was a great trip, and I'm glad that I did it. And it was a good time. And now I got a lot of catching up to do. So I just got in yesterday. I got here late last night. I landed Florida around 8 o'clock. I took an Uber home. and then I got in and I fed my cats and oh, give him some privacy, right? Um, we'll turn away a little bit there, give him some privacy. And anyway, I um, I got home late, not late, but I landed at 8. I was probably home by 9 o'clock. And then I, unpacked a little bit, took a shower, and pretty much went to bed. I was kind of exhausted. I'd gotten up early, travel all day. I'll probably do a video on coming home and my feelings and thoughts on Air Canada. So, so that's it. And here I am. And then tomorrow I got to get back to work. So yeah, it's going to be a busy week, and it's been a busy week, but it's nice to come on again and reconnect and say hello to everybody. So how long have we been on now? A little over a half hour. Well, I started a few minutes late though, didn't I? I got a lot of catch up. There you go. I got a lot of catch up. Although some people would say cats up, right? Yeah, got a lot of catch up. Um, hey, Ryan, mustarding. Yeah, people, they mustered out of the military, right? They're mustered out. So uh, how about they can't cut the mustard? Mustard. Um, yeah. How's it going? Well, you're gonna have to watch. You're gonna have to watch the first half hour, Ryan, to find out how it's going. In general, it's going swimmingly. Boy, is that old school? Is that like an 1887 term, right? Things are going swimmingly. No one uses that anymore. But I think I'm going to call it a night. It's been great. I want to thank you so much for joining me. As always, I know I always say this, but I mean it from the heart. I appreciate so much the fact that you're here because um, I know you can be doing other things and devoting a half hour of your time uh, to watching this. I appreciate it so much, and that comes from the heart. So have a great week, everyone, and enjoy the week. Check in periodically, see what I'm posting, and we'll see you back here next time on the Average Me channel. Thanks again. Have a great week, everybody.